Standing in aisle 7 of my local grocery store, clutching the last loaf of whole grain bread, I found myself locked in what can only be described as a territorial standoff with a woman whose intensity could have powered the entire freezer section. This was my first encounter with what retail workers universally recognize as a Karen. What followed was a 15-minute ordeal that fundamentally changed my perspective on consumer behavior and personal priorities. The incident began innocuously enough. Both of us reached for the same loaf simultaneously. What should have been resolved with a simple "please go ahead" escalated into a detailed lecture about her gluten-sensitive daughter, her busy schedule, and her apparent constitutional right to that particular bread. I stood there, genuinely bewildered, as she summoned a manager to adjudicate what was essentially a grocery store arbitration. During those uncomfortable minutes, I observed something fascinating about human psychology. This wasn't really about bread. It was about control, validation, and the illusion that winning insignificant battles somehow compensates for larger life frustrations. The bread had become a symbol, a hill she was prepared to die on, regardless of how disproportionate her response appeared to everyone watching. As I eventually handed over the loaf and walked away, I realized I had learned something invaluable about choosing my battles. Life presents us with countless opportunities to engage in meaningless conflicts. We can either exhaust ourselves fighting for bread in grocery stores, or we can reserve our energy for matters that genuinely impact our well-being and values. The experience taught me that sometimes the most powerful response to unreasonable behavior is simply stepping away. I'll never fight Karen for bread again, not because I lack conviction, but because I've discovered something far more valuable than winning petty disputes: the peace that comes from knowing when something simply isn't worth your time.